Hey, and welcome back to the Ambitious Bookkeeper Podcast. I am Serena Shoup, and today's episode is one that I know is going to hit home for especially the men in your life, or for anyone who is walking the line between ambition and overwhelm. I'm joined today by Cletus Coffey, former pro athlete, single dad, and founder of Torch Training, who brings the heat in this conversation about rebuilding your life after setbacks, mastering your mornings, and creating real structure and accountability in your personal and professional life. Cletus gets real about life after sports, navigating the 2008 recession, toxic partnerships, and what it really takes to rise again. He breaks down his 5 key pillars that he teaches: focus, family, fitness, fortune, and foundation, and how men can build a life that's aligned, energized, and on purpose. So whether you're looking to sharpen your self-discipline, build stronger habits, or just want to hear a powerful story of resilience and reinvention, this episode is a must listen. So let's dive in. Hey, and welcome to the Ambitious Bookkeeper Podcast. I'm Serena Shoup, CPA, a mom of 3, and I've been running a virtual bookkeeping business from my home since 2017. You are in the right place if you are a bookkeeper, accountant, or an accounting student, and you believe and know in your heart that your purpose is bigger than sitting in a cubicle. If you're ready to learn some actionable tips and strategies for starting and growing your accounting business, then I hope you stick around. Hello, and welcome back to the Ambitious Bookkeeper Podcast. Today we have a guest on. His name is Cletus Coffey, and we met last December at an event called BBD Live with James Wedmore. And I think we ended up at lunch in the same vicinity. I don't quite remember how we ended up meeting, but we started chatting about, building a business, being single parents, and all that good stuff. So I thought it would be really cool to have you on, especially because I know a lot of my audience are moms, but I also have a subset of audience who are dads trying to build a, accounting business or fractional CFO business. And I thought it would be really great to have more of a male or masculine perspective around all of that on the show today, because normally I have women guesting on about that kind of stuff. So welcome to the podcast.
Serena, such a pleasure to be here. And yes, just the way the universe works, we ended up at lunch, and I just valued your perspective on life and business, which obviously fostered further conversations, and love what you're doing. So I obviously couldn't wait to join you here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So give our listener kind of a background of who you are and how you help people, and a little bit of your journey getting there.
Yeah, totally. And shout out to the moms and the dads who are out there trying to both follow a dream and a passion, and yet be present for those little ones out there. I know it's a juggle, but it's a beautiful juggle. And for me, Serena, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, North Bay, wine country, and I was the oldest of 5, and all girls other than me, and I was an athlete like that. I grew up in a single parent household. My father had to go on his own little journey of recovery, battling alcoholism, and by the grace of all that is holy, he's 38 years sober. And
Wow.
we couldn't be more tighter, but he wasn't around when I was growing up. And so sports is what really was my safe haven. And that's where I was able to find men who were mentors or father figures. 3-sport athlete in high school, went to college, played 2 sports in college, both football, and I was a decathlete on the track and field team. And it was like, Serena, I don't know if it was because I always had dreams of being a professional athlete, or desperation because I'd been an athlete for 85% of my life, and now my college career was coming to an end, that I didn't want it to end. And so it was like, what is it, because I'm desperate for another season, or because I really want to go and be a pro athlete? I ended up, after graduation, just promoting the heck out of myself. I signed a contract to go play football in the Canadian Football League, and then came back in the States and played 4 years in the Arena Football League, which in the heydays of the league in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was a very, very popular league. And so I got to be a professional athlete until I break my leg. And at the ripe age of 28, I'm quote unquote retired. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like, being an athlete, a professional athlete is very entrepreneurial. I'm in charge of fueling my body. I'm in charge of training it. I'm in charge of marketing and promoting myself. Even when having an agent, it's still like getting in their ears, being like, hey, this is who I know. This is who I can network with. I know this coaching staff. So it was very entrepreneurial. So I retire, and it's not like there's a little misconception about professional athletes. Yes, there are some that are making very, very good money, but the vast majority are like, hey, I need to go get a job once I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
And so going from this kind of entrepreneurial, every day was about training and eating and practicing. I had a resume that said degree and football player, and I really struggled with finding work. And so I found some odds and ends jobs and working in a business for 3 years, parking cars. And it was just like, this is not. I went from being on ESPN and people calling me, asking for tickets and how was the game to crickets. No one's calling me. No one's trying to get tickets. And I'm parking cars. I'm going, this is not the way it was supposed to be. So I then was introduced to entrepreneurship and I was hooked. Like, yes, this feels like being an athlete. So I went all in. I didn't know any entrepreneurs. I didn't know any business owners that I could talk to. My parents were not either. And so I just completely went in cold and was with the ego in mind, thinking like, I got this. I sucked big time. Really was not a very good business owner. And I tell you what, I actually got into it, Serena, and I realized, and I got into doing commercial finance. So I would bring the banks and the people wanting to buy office space, office buildings, or so forth. I'd bring them together, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I was like, this can make some money. And I realized that, not at the time, but looking back, I was chasing money. I was like, I just need to make some money. I got to make some money. And if you've ever chased money before, you know that generally leads to some dead ends, some really challenging times. And I ended up starting a business. Over time, over a span of about 2.5 years, I had attracted what I didn't know at the time, but later learned, 3 convicted felons into my world who were scammers and what do you call it, Ponzi scheme type people. And it was a reflection of who I was at that time. I was desperate. I was lost. My ego was all about the money. And I was attracting that kind of lower frequency type people into my world. And it scared the hell out of me. If this is what business is about, like, I don't want to do this. And
Mm-hmm.
then I got saved. The 2009 recession that we went through here in the US, I lost my business. I lost everything. I lost my brokerage. I lost connections. Everything was gone. And although at the time it was a painful process of losing everything, I had just gotten married. I had already a child, and I was in a fetal position. However, it was the biggest blessing because it got me out of that mindset and that world that I was in and sent me onto a new trajectory, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
in my life. So, and that trajectory was, okay, now what the hell do I do? But what it did was, is I actually, for the first time, I went back into my past and said, okay, if success leaves clues, there's something about being an athlete that I've just stuffed in the drawer and said, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm a business person. I'm gonna go do business. So I opened that drawer, I pulled back out the athletic me and started to apply the things that I knew that I was good at, and started kind of taking opportunities and starting things that were more in alignment with that versus this finance world that I didn't know anything about. And so I continued to struggle. Starting little things here. I had a speed and agility training. I started coaching, and each iteration got me closer to who I really was and what I was passionate about. But it was just like crash and burn, crash and burn. Well, my wife at the time, was more than enough that she could handle. And I, not having communication skills, tools, a framework, any type of playbooks on how to navigate, I just was so embarrassed and feeling shame that I kept losing. I kept taking these big L's and I was so frustrated. and then guilty that my wife at the time she had to go back to work and start making money for us. And I was full of shame and guilt and it's not that for lack of effort and trying, I just was
Mhm.
lost. But I didn't know how to raise my hand. So if anyone's listening who's been through these or is going through something like this, I just didn't know how to say, I'm lost. I need help. Somebody, I, I mean well. I want to take care of my responsibilities. I just don't know where to go. But the ego in me said, no, 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 you got this. You're the man, and you don't ask for help. So that really dug myself into a deeper hole. So ended up going through divorce, becoming a single father, and was angry. I had to close my business. I ended up just taking a job, just doing some sales. I was resentful and just quickly got into another relationship thinking like that was the answer. And that didn't serve me very well. That we ended up having a child together. So I have three children with two co-parents. And
Mhm.
they're, looking back on it, as much as the challenges that I've gone through with them, they're wonderful teachers for me. They're wonderful lessons that I've learned that finally I said, all right, enough is enough. I got to go in on me. And so my journey to entrepreneurship now started with me getting to the truth about who I am. And because what I made a commitment to is the next thing I start isn't going to be chasing money, isn't going to try to heal some unhealed part of me or to follow some trend. It's going to be something that's in alignment with who I really am. But I got to discover that
Mhm.
first. So that led me to start my company, Torch Training. I have all programs called Be the Torch, really in alignment with men, entrepreneur minded, those kind of driven individuals that want to become the highest versions of themselves and to but basically chart the path that I went through, being a single father, being driven to create business, but going inward to manifest the marketing and the strategy and the culture on their team, their leadership, and in their families, and most importantly for their own selves. So there you go. There it all is, just in a quick whirlwind. Uh,
Wow. I don't think I knew half of those things, even from our conversations at BBD,
yeah,
but we didn't have that long to chit chat in between sessions. So,
yeah,
wow, yeah, that's a crazy, awesome journey. And I had like little questions pop up throughout, and now I'm trying to remember what some of them were. But just like congratulations and like good job for finally like looking inward
yeah,
and finding, and that was one of my questions too, is like how did you find your, it sounds like your purpose, like what is that thing that, I'm sure it wasn't just like one it wasn't just one session with your journal, like it probably took years to really uncover like what you think you really should be doing and where your passion is and your purpose. But if you could give somebody a piece of advice on locating that, where to
yeah,
start, maybe.
yeah. So, and I love this question because I got so much to say on this. And yeah, I got out of a very toxic relationship where I had completely lost myself. I had lost my North Star. I was so upside down, and in a lot. I mean, I take responsibility for putting myself in that situation, not being healed, not being my true authentic self, still struggling
Mhm.
with guilt and shame and negative self talk, and really just not in a solid place. And I attracted someone who also was not in a solid place, and so together we were just, and it just was not a good mix. Two great people, just not a good mix, and I lost my North Star to the point where I was so, and I'll give you a quick story. So I live in Seattle, and it was a dark, rainy Seattle night. I had just dropped off my sons to their mother, and I don't know. We had kind of this middle point meeting place, and so I just kind of pulled over to this hotel, and I literally just sat there, and I didn't know what I was going to do. Meaning, I was so I had lost myself so much in this toxicity of this relationship, in the businesses that I was trying to do and trying to create, and the now having three children and then running all different directions. I sat there and I remember the very first time going, someone please come open my door right now and save me. I need someone to come save me. And it was in a flash. As soon as I said that, it just hit me. And I thought, no one's coming. Like, no one's literally going to come save me. Even those that love me, I got to do it. And it's look, and Serena, I've studied personal development for decades. I've read the books. I've gone to the seminars. I've gone to the courses and hired the coaches, and it's all wonderful content. Just none of it really clicked for me. Talk to me. And so, but in that moment, I thought, I, I'm the only one that can save me. I got to do this. And the competitor in me, the athlete in me said, all right, that's a purpose. I'm going to go focus on me. Let me figure this out. And so the more I went down that, I'm in this dark place, but the more I went down this hole of how can I become the man capable of having a successful business, become the man capable of having a loving, intimate, sexual relationship with a woman? How can I be the man capable of leading my children in the way that I know the legacy that I want to leave with them? So thankfully, I just, with my kids kind of part time for literally, yeah, about 2.5 years, I didn't date, I didn't do anything. I just locked in on every night, every morning. I developed a morning routine. What do I need to do for me right now? How can I become the better version of myself? And that's where purpose came for me. Purpose for me became and is to know myself, truthfully get to know who I really am authentically. Because I was a really good BSer, Serena. Like, I'd go to networking events and I'd show up as the version that I thought people wanted me to be. So I'd put on the suit and tie and the cufflinks, and I'd show up as if I got all my stuff together. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't. I was scared. I needed clients. I needed partners, but I was too afraid to ask for that. So I said, no, I'm going to show up authentically as me. And but I got to know who that is. And then I got to take ownership and responsibility for where I'm at in the present moment. So that became purpose for me. And the more I did that, the more, what do you know? Like, things started to shift outside of me as I shift. And I've heard that over and over again. I was just in my own way. I didn't know how
Mm-hmm.
to get out until I locked in on truth, ownership, responsibility for me. And then things began to shift externally outside of me.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, because yeah, we hear all of that. It's like you've got to work on yourself before anything else will fall into place. And you don't really understand that until you see it happen. But it's really hard to get over that hump of like making that happen
Mhm.
and just trusting that it will all come in time. I think one of the things that a lot of people struggle with, and I don't know if it probably goes for both men and women, but that fear, especially depending on how you were brought up, that fear of focusing too much on yourself and becoming self-centered
Mhm.
versus I'm really focusing on myself so that I can be a better version. And I know that it can be a fine line if you obsess over the personal development and obsess on, making all these like routines and things versus because like you can get sucked into using that as your current addiction, where it's like, well, I'm like just so into personal development and you just take it too far. And so I think some people might be a little bit afraid of that. So what words of wisdom do you have for someone that is kind of in that like teetering on like, I want to be a better person, but I don't want to become self-centered? Like, where's the balance?
Yeah, I love that you brought this up because this is really important. And I believe that focusing on me is not selfish. It's in my best self-interest. So I think if we reframe it from it's in my best interest to focus on me. It's the whole in the airplane, put the mask on you first before you put it on
Mhm.
anyone else. Like, I got to make sure I'm solid because the old me would get up, rip, go to work, and just crush all day. Come home exhausted, tired, worn out, not present, worrying about the next thing. And so now, what version of me are my kids getting? What version of me is my partner getting? It wasn't the version that they deserve. And it wasn't the leader that I wanted to be in all these areas of my life. And so what I believe is we can focus on ourselves from a place of power, not ego, where I'm, we've all seen them, people, I'm more holier than thou, or I'm more evolved in the universal laws than anyone else. It's not
Mm-hmm.
about that. It's about being grounded in I know who I am and I know how to set the right boundaries and I know how to communicate openly about, especially from, women on the call are going to be like, yeah, no, this is easy. But for us men to actually say like, this is what I'm feeling and being okay with that, not worry about judgment, not worrying about what someone's going to say back to us because I know myself. And what came up for me so often were triggers. I get triggered by my ex and as in co-parenting. I get triggered by new people, women that I'm meeting. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Realizing that it wasn't about them, it was about me. So I got to figure out that part of me. I got to heal that part of me because it's in my best interest to ensure that I'm not showing up as this version of myself that's not aligned with me. And I
Yeah.
really feel that to lead our family, I feel that we're cheating our partners, we're cheating our children, we're cheating our friends if we do not show up authentically as ourselves. And when doing so, we can give them exactly who we are. And I think that's the benefit to everybody.
What about the person that is like, well, this is me, and you get what you see? Because we all know those people, right? That they're like, well, this is who I am. What you see is what you get, and I'm not gonna change. So there's the flip side of that too, where it's like, how do you, I mean, do you even break through to those people, or do you have to just make a decision and a boundary within yourself that everyone can become a better person, like, and everyone is inherently good, I believe. Some people have just been through some that is kind of preventing them from breaking down that shell, and myself included. We've all got that side of ourselves that it's like it's going to be really hard to change and you're going to backslide, but it's not something that you have to do alone either.
Absolutely not. No. I've got, so like right now, I have some men that I'm working with who are divorced, they've or separated, and they're starting this new life of I'd like to go out and meet someone that is someone who I want to be with, called a soulmate, whatever. And I tell them, like, you need to go on a date with yourself first. Like, just take yourself out, go grab a bite to eat, go to a concert, go to whatever, like go do something that you want to do for you. Like, go take yourself out there and just see what comes up. And I feel like the people that have these guards up have not taken time to just sit with themselves and just listen and feel and connect with them. And because what often happens is, the insecurities are there, the fears are there, which we all got them. And the ego is there to protect it and protect us. And so I think that, those that might be struggling with that, awareness is the first step. And our patterns are the things that we need to become aware of. So, for someone who does have that feeling, that boundary, can become aware, like, okay, hold on a second. That feeling of wanting to, like, I got this on my own, or I don't need anybody, or that hardened part of them, just becoming aware of it is the first step. I mean, that's the diffusion of the ego when we can just become aware of it. And because I see it all the time in business, especially in men, I see it so much that, and here's the thing, once you get it for yourself, you start to see it, like you can't unsee it.
Mm-hmm.
And I start to see it in people going, man, he's got his facade up and is not even aware of it. And he's got this facade up and he's trying to play the tough guy because here's what they'll do. They'll throw out, well, this is the degrees that I have, and these are certifications, and this is how much money I've made, and this is the Lamborghini I have, and this is how much I sold this company for. They want to go to the scoreboard of life.
Mm-hmm.
and here's my results versus like, who are you outside of your results, outside the scoreboard, which we can't control. Tell me about you. Like, that's where I want to get to. So I don't know if I even answered the question, but getting
Yeah.
alignment with the being part of being a human being is an important piece.
As a high achiever,
Mm,
I definitely have that like masculine energy of the achieving the score, not necessarily like the scoreboard type of thing. I'm not very competitive, but I am with myself really. And when you've led a life where you've just been going to for the next goal or the
mm,
next achievement, sometimes it's really hard to, and this is where it comes down to like go on a date with yourself, figure out what you want and what you like. It was really hard when I sat down and I was trying to figure out what do I want and what are my hobbies and what do I like to do outside
mm,
of achievement, like
mm,
outside of going to school, making good grades, going right into my career, rising up the ranks quicker than humanly possible.
mhm,
Like
mhm.
when you've led a life like that, it's funny, not funny, but I've had this conversation with several people close to me. Now everybody gets to hear it. Addiction looks different for everybody, but
For
when you're
sure.
covering something up, like it may not be drugs, it may not be alcohol, but it could be achievement. It could be,
Mhm.
working. And that was me. Anytime I felt uncomfortable about what was going on in life, I would just go to work or I would just start working.
So true.
And so starting my own business was a huge exercise in undoing that and catching myself when I started defaulting to that. And sometimes I still come back to it and I'm like, okay, I can see myself drifting over to the computer because I feel uncomfortable about something
Totally.
and trying to like distract myself from work. So yeah, it's a constant exercise, I
Let me
guess.
let me give you a breakdown. I'm gonna use this from a sports perspective because in this society, yes, the masculine energy is achieve and accomplish, and based on those achievements and accomplishments will determine our self worth. And from a sports perspective, think about it. And I've got three, well, not two, not so little anymore, but I got three kids, and as a parent, and I've got my guys in sports. And here's the thing: let's say you have your child goes to a game that you don't make it. Maybe you're going to your other kids' festivities or games, or you're just at home, and you didn't go to your child's game or race or whatever. When they come home from it and you didn't go, what's the first question you ask them when they walk in the door?
Did you win?
Did you win? Right? We go straight to the scoreboard. Or we say something covert like, how'd you do? Which we're trying to get to the outcome. And so what we've done is, and parents who's listening, give yourself some grace. I've had to give myself some grace. What we're doing is we're conditioning our young people that what's most important is one thing they cannot control, is that achieving and accomplishing. So they walk in the door, we go straight to that. And if they win, it's hugs and kisses and high fives and popsicles all around. If they lose, it's, ooh, no hugs, no kisses. What happened? Did you not play very good? Did you make mistakes? We go to that. And so now we're conditioning our young people that my love is conditional. When you win, you get my
Mhm.
love. When you don't win, same thing when they come in with the grades. You got an A, high fives, popsicles. You're amazing. Oh, you got a C minus. What's wrong? You're not working hard enough. You didn't turn in your homework. You didn't. And so, achieving and accomplishing is something that we have us. We're trained very early on. And now what happens is, Serena, you and I are in the summer, we're in the backyard having a barbecue, and you invite a neighbor over, and your neighbor says, the Joneses down the street, they're really successful. What are they referring to? Money, the sweet cars in the driveway, the house. And so here we go. It's carried into adulthood that success is something outside of us, monetarily, scoreboard related. And the scoreboard, we cannot control. We can have the best intentions. We can put ourselves in the greatest position to generate the results we want, but we can't control our customers and how much they're going to pay and what the market is saying. But we can control there's basically, I think, three things we can control: our attitude, our effort, and our response. That's it. Everything else is out of our
Mhm.
control. So this high achieving, high accomplishing mentality that so many of us have, especially entrepreneurs, was ingrained in us very early on. That our your and I still struggle with my mom with this because my mother is still in. Oh, great! How much money are you making? How much? She just goes straight to the scoreboard. And I say, hey, there's more to me than just the money aspect, Mom. But we find that in our partners, and that our self worth is attached to the scoreboard. Problem is, the scoreboard is not going to give us happiness, joy, fulfillment, wholeness. It doesn't live there.
Yeah.
Yes, it makes us up as being human, but all the happiness, joy, fulfillment, all that lives in the being aspect of who we really deeply are. And when we connect to that part of us, and here's the key, then you can actually experience and enjoy the things on the human plane, the outcomes, the vacations, the relationships, the material things. You actually get to enjoy them because how many men that don't actually get to enjoy their nice car and their house and because they're just so locked in and achieving and accomplishing.
Hmm.
So what it comes down to is, this was in the next phase of my business, I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create the lifestyle that I want, and then I'm going to fit my business into it. Versus my old way was, I'm just going to create this business, I'm going to scale it, and then I'll make the money and figure out how to take care of my broken relationship and take care of the fact that I haven't worked out in 3 months. And
Yeah.
so
It's a
lifestyle,
losing battle though.
it
That's
totally is.
like, it's never going to be enough and you're never going to make the time. So that's one thing I work on with, the students I work with, people building their businesses, is like, let's figure out what kind of life you actually want, how much time you want to be working, what do you want to be doing with your time when you're not working, so that we can build the business around that. And it might happen slower than you want, but you'll appreciate it because you can't get that time back with your kids. And no one ever, I mean, this has been overused for sure, but like, no one is ever on their deathbed wishing they worked more
Mhm. So true.
or made more money.
Mhm. I love that you take that approach. I think your students benefit greatly just from that foundation, that perspective to build a business. Yeah, albeit a little bit slower, but intentional, I think is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I know before we hopped on and started recording, you were talking about a challenge that you're putting on right now. And by the time this airs, your challenge will be over, but there will be a new one scheduled, I'm sure. And if not, I'm sure you have a wait list or something, but give us a kind of a little breakdown of what you're doing these days, and then where people can connect with you if they want to learn more.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. I really believe in the and where we're at least for me in my business is I got I want to get out of the transactional game and get into the transformational game. And sure, yes, we could get together and I could, show you how, marketing and sales. And for me, I come from the team culture, what I call personal culture, which is investing in self first. We can set up your leadership team and all that. Yet it starts with you, the individual. So I run cohorts of traditionally men has been my demographic who I attract. I attract people like me, the entrepreneur, that oftentimes the single father. But I'm open to all people that want to be able to grow in this way. But that male single father entrepreneur who's like, the way I've done it is not working. I need something different. So I run in cohorts where we men like to run in packs and we work in teams and it's important for us to see what other guys are doing and collaborate. So I run them in groups. So we do virtual and then we get together live. And it's a process going through 5 key areas that I feel that are most important to us in this given time. And it's mastering those 5 key areas. It's the master of focus, which is essentially our emotional intelligence, mastering our family and our relationships, our fitness, our health and our body, our fortune, our money and our business, and then foundation, which is a connection to a source and a higher power. So those 5 key areas, focus, family, fitness, fortune, foundation, we tap into each one of those. And we tap into it from self first. So it's all about self-mastery. And self-mastery is not about knowledge, in my opinion, it's about action. So I hold these men accountable. And just like an old ball coach, it's just like, look, I'm here to get us to the championship. I'm here to help you get there. So we run in groups. It's very intimate. It's very accountable, and getting guys to see actual change. So that's in the personal growth side. And then they have the opportunity to kind of grow with me. So then we got a whole program and an academy based on their business. We dive into their marketing, their sales, and their leadership to help them within their business. But what I'm doing is I've splintered off a challenge. And this was something that I can say with true confidence transformed my life. And in this version of me for 2.5 years sitting in my oftentimes quiet, alone home, I had to figure out how to master my morning, because I, again, would just get up and rip, and the carnage at the end of the day of like, where am I? I haven't worked out. I haven't connected with my kids. So I just ran the challenge earlier, so I actually have my cheat sheet right here. But what my attendees do is, this is a weekly cheat sheet here, and they have, within each 5 of those categories, they have 2 things to do. So there's 10 tasks to do every morning for ourselves. Something that someone can wake up and do for themselves before they try to produce, perform, and provide for everybody else. So we lock in on me, and it's things from writing in a gratitude journal, something like this, where, what I'm grateful for, just quick affirmations, this, a meditation, quick journal, fueling our bodies, doing a quick little movement of the body, whether it's a walk outside or a full gym workout or anything in between. And then connecting with loved ones, whether it's a text message or a little note on the mirror or a little card by the bedside or texting my kid at college, things like that. What can I do for me that allows me to show up as the man that I know I want to become before 9 a.m. or whatever, that's an arbitrary number, but whatever time before they start their day, I'm going to do all this for me so that at the end of the day, I don't show up after work going, I haven't worked out. I haven't done any reading for myself. Now I'm present. I took care of me. I can lock in on the kids. I can be there for them or for my partner, whatever it may be. So it was a 5-day challenge about mastering your morning. And we go through each one of those components so they can develop the freedom and self-mastery to become the man capable of having success in all areas of life.
Oh, I love that. I need that challenge.
Let's do it.
Oh, that's awesome. So where do people go to connect with you and learn about the next time you're holding this challenge or any of the other ways that they can work with you?
Yeah, definitely. So we're obviously in the flow of it right now, but we'll have, if you simply just go to my website, it's cletuscoffey.com, and coffee is Coffey, cletuscoffey.com. It's got links. You can actually just download the cheat sheet yourself. I have a video tutorial that can take you through it, or you can join us live in the challenge where I'm going to hold you accountable to getting it done. The challenge is on there where you can register for our next one is on there. So cletuscoffey.com. And all my stuff is on there, from my Be the Torch podcast to way to get in part of my ecosystem.
Awesome. And I will link all of that in the show notes. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. And I know there's going to be a few people listening that really vibe with what you have to say, and they will be so grateful that they finally found a guy that can relate to them. So thank you again so much. I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for the platform and to connect with your community. So grateful.
Awesome. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you to everyone who helps make this podcast possible. Content and interviews are produced by me, Serena Shoup. Our intro and outro music is written and performed by my brother, Ian Gilliam. Editing is also by Ian using his awesome sound engineering skills along with Descript software. Hosting and publishing is by Buzzsprout. And you can check out the show notes for links to all of these amazing resources and resources mentioned in the episode.
Be ambitious.